Hello out there in YouTube land. Welcome to the Christmas holiday edition of Tom Salta Masterclass Live, where I always invite once a month any of the students that have taken any of my courses to join me live for Q&A and discussion. And today we have a little special treat because we're going to be doing some live critiques. I offered to my students, if you, oh, there we go. Thank you. Mute your mic if there. Okay, cool. So basically, we're going to be doing some live critiques as well. So I invited people to send in some tracks for me to kind of take a listen to and give a little critique. And my goal in critiquing is to give constructive criticism. All right, ways to improve, what you can focus on that would lead to the most improvement. All right, cool. So why don't we jump into it today? I just want to first welcome everybody here. Let me turn off my little visible thingy here, and I'll jump on to Zoom. So hey everyone, we have Leo and Catherine, Chris, Deborah, Greg, Juan, Carl, and Pablo. Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. And we're going to start here with Pablo's submission. Pablo, can you give us a few words before we listen as to what you would like the focus of the critique to be on? Hello, Pablo. Hello, Pablo. All right, if you're busy, I'll switch to someone else and we'll come back to you. You have 5, 4, 3.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's like a little fantasy, like a sprite fantasy little dude.
Yep.
It reminded me of the game Oris.
Okay.
And I forget the name, but it's Oris, and it's kind of like an adventure that goes into a really dark mood.
Okay.
And then comes out a little bit triumphant at the end.
Okay. Sounds good. Do you want your camera on or off?
Off. I'm at work.
Gotcha.
So I'll keep it.
Cool. Well, thanks for your commitment showing up while at work. I will not tell your boss. Okay, so now we're going to listen to your file. So what do you want me to critique specifically in the production?
You know, after listening to Joe's submission last time, I think I honed in to one of my problems is that everything feels like it's on your face.
Mm-hmm.
I need to improve the panning. And
Okay.
I need to improve the overall distribution of the instruments in the 3D stage, which I'm currently trying to work on. And I think that's my major obstacle at this point.
Okay, so your focus you want me to focus pretty much on the production and the way things kind of balance all together. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. Let's do it. Okay, we're going to fade out after about the minute. So basically, we're going to be listening to about a minute of the composition. And if there's a particular section, guys will let me know. Okay, so Pablo, cool. So we have a bunch of things we can kind of talk about in here.
Awesome.
You know, let's see. Well, first of all, let's start with the easy problem to fix. The easy problem to fix, I think, are the samples themselves. And you know, the reason I say that is because you can fix that by buying things, you know. You can't buy a good arrangement, but you can buy good samples, right? So, I think you should keep in mind that if you are just kind of starting out, right, you're getting kind of launched into this and you're aspiring to do this on a professional level, I think it's important that you focus on the strengths of what you have. Meaning, if you don't have a good orchestral library, or let's say you have a really good string library, but you don't have a good brass library or whatever, these days it's really important that people expect to hear something that sounds real or good or high quality. So play to the strengths of your samples. If your samples don't sound good playing a legato line, then don't do it. If they don't sound good doing staccato, well, usually they do. That samples are very good at that stuff. But, you know, don't do it, okay? Because that's just going to immediately derail any hope of it being positively received. Okay, so that's the focus on the samples themselves. And that advice goes to everyone, including myself. I always have to play to the strengths of what my samples sound like, all right? Okay, second thing, the track had this very, it almost felt a little cacophonous as far as the arrangement. Things were kind of like in and out. I didn't know what was going on. It was kind of like things were thrown in. You did one idea and then you layered another and you layered another, and they were kind of just like, how much can I put in here? And they're all kind of doing their own thing, so to speak. It didn't feel very coordinated, if that makes sense. What I would recommend is always focus on the composition first. So typically, for example, when I'm working on a piece, if I were to make a piece like this, I would probably start with my main instrument, which would be piano. All right, and I would start with it and make it sound good, come up with the idea, come up with the arrangement on the piano itself. Okay, and then I could start to virtualize it, meaning let's start to arrange it. What parts would the low string do? What are they doing? Are they doing a sustained line, or, you know, staccato lines? What are the instruments doing? How to properly arrange it? I think that would be a better approach when you want to do orchestral music. I don't know the level of experience you have with it, with doing orchestrations, but that's one way to approach it. Here's another important tip to learn is listen, and listen again. You always want to learn by listening and imitating things first. If you're new to arranging, depending on what you've learned in school, or if you haven't learned in school at all, then you need to learn by listening and imitating, in my humble opinion. That's a really good education to learn from the greats, right? Listen to a piece and try to copy it. And you'll learn, well, wait, what are they doing? Why are they doing it this way? And then you can kind of adapt and adopt some of those techniques to your own compositions. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
So I think that
imitate and innovate.
Yes, that's a really good place to start, especially when you're starting out. Okay? Cool.
Yep, makes total sense.
Excellent.
Awesome.
All right, thanks for your submission. Let's get into the next one.
Thanks a lot. That was awesome.
You got it. All right, cool. So Catherine, you are up next. How you doing today? Oh, there you go.
Okay,
There's
yes,
your mic.
Okay. Yeah, it's a day. It's good. How are you?
Yes, I hear you. I'm trying really hard.
Yeah, me too. It's all good. It's all good. We're all here.
We're all here making music. Okay, cool. So talk to me about your submission and what would you like. First of all, which minute should I be listening to? I don't know how long it is.
Yeah, I know. I think I just tossed that up there.
It's about 3 minutes long, so.
Yeah, we don't need to listen to all 3 minutes. Obviously, probably like if you take it from 10 seconds into, a minute from there.
Got it. Okay, cool.
You get the idea.
I get the idea.
So this is kind of a piece that was inspired by a short film that I scored called What Metal Girls Are Into, which was like, basically these 3 metalheads go into a music festival in the desert, and they find something disturbing in the freezer of their rental property. So
Oh.
Airbnbs, beware. So the music was kind of inspired by that, and everything used in this is real instruments. So there's no I arranged it originally with just guitar and loops and things like that, but then I transposed it to my the group of musicians that I work with.
Yep.
And so I guess it's listening to, like, there's no vocals obviously, so it's like, does it make sense from an energy and intense kind of point of view? Is it boring? Is it, I don't want it to be so cliche, but I was trying to kind of hopefully put something new behind a metal track.
Gotcha.
So
And what are you going for as far as to create here? Is it just a track for the sake of listening to it, or is it a track that's meant to accompany, and
it's a track that was meant to accompany a scene. So yeah.
a scene in a movie?
In a movie that was like a chase kind of scene.
Okay.
So it's like the energy is like chase, kind of like a little bit chase, a little bit we found something disturbing in the freezer, and
Okay.
what do we do from there? Okay.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's take a listen. That's where the chase starts. Whoops, sorry. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. It doesn't sound particularly score-y. That's weird.
Okay.
Well, this time, yeah, okay, so Zoom is there. I guess Zoom just didn't want to keep going. There was a glitch. That's strange. All right, so you probably heard me where I said it didn't feel like very scory, but it did feel like it was a track in the movie, that they put over, a scene that fit along with the mood of it. Now, what kind of movie are we talking about here? Because clearly, computers, just the internet service decides to just drop away. Very strange.
Everyone's online this time of year.
I don't know. It's very strange. Okay, cool. So, sorry about this. This is out of my control. I'm doing my best. But, so, yeah, so, what kind of movie would it be? Because it does feel very specific, and I want to kind of...
It's a thriller short horror movie.
Okay. All right, so you can kind of get along with that, I remember I said the beat where the chase started at 39 seconds. Anytime you want to do a chase thing, and usually it's got to be there's got to be the fast rhythm in it. The beginning of it was walking pace. Dun, 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 dun. That's not going to be typically the pace that you want in a chase. That feels almost like the setup, and then when it goes to that kind of thing. Think about, pay attention to lots of chase scenes, and you'll typically hear there's a lot of motion.
Yeah.
In it. And it's not always about the tempo. I mean, that's one thing I don't know if you've all noticed, but a lot of non-musicians that I might deal with will typically say, well, we want it to be faster. We want it to be faster. But what they really mean is they just want more motion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, that's all fine. I mean, it was good. I definitely can kind of see one of those, horror thriller, B-movie zombie thing where it's all about, hacking and slashing and rock music or whatever it is, and that works kind of nicely.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Okay, good. Well, I say mission accomplished in that case. But once again, I'd say listen to. I think the thing that's going to really improve your craft is by listening a lot to other stuff that is, that is in the style of what you're doing. Always learn from the greats. It's easy to stand on the shoulders of the greats. It's a good technique. All right.
100%. No, totally appreciate it. And
awesome.
I'm sorry, but I have to. I got a situation here that I have to take care of. So I
go ahead.
Bug out.
Go ahead. No
Happy
worries.
Holidays. I will probably be back, but if I'm not, I just want to say thank you very much. Okay.
Of course. See you later, Catherine. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's get on to the next one. Hope we don't have any other problems here with the internet connection. Okay, cool. So we have Juan up next. Let's see. Juan, are you here with us?
Yes, I am here.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. So turn up your mic a little bit.
Sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Is that better?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Excellent.
So remember last live masterclass when I asked for help for an assignment?
Yep.
Yeah. This is the part 1 of the supposedly four parts boss battle I was working on. I got stuck and I can't and I don't know how to move from one part to another, so I submitted the first minute that is kind of the introduction to the battle. I just used the MIDI samples from the score system I use. I use the Muse score to write. It is not orchestrated. I use the Quark. I don't know how to pronounce.
Okay. Now my question was before I got oops.
I
Cora.
used Core. Thank you.
Yeah.
I use the piano for kind of doing an ostinato and accompaniment. And finally, I kind of added a romp.
Okay.
Romp down.
So let me. Okay, you don't have to give me the entire orchestration. We can hear it, but what I'm more interested in seeing, what were you going for here? What kind of boss was this?
Part. I think you got muted.
I got muted. Hello.
Yes, now I can hear.
Okay, yeah. So what kind of boss were you going for in this one?
I was thinking of a big boss, kind of a reptile creature, kind of with a rocky surrounding, and kind of dark lighting. I don't know. Let me see.
Okay, cool. Well, let's do it. Let's listen. Hopefully this works. I'm gonna have to refresh this. Oop. Okay, we're going to keep listening, but one thing that you need to learn about is round robins. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay. Okay, gotcha. All right, so a couple of things to focus on here. All right, one, and first and foremost are the samples themselves, okay? You need to invest in some professional sounding stuff. Right now, this sounds like a general MIDI kind of built-in sound in QuickTime. You know what I mean? It doesn't sound...
built-in for music score.
Yeah, definitely not going to work. So, I don't know. What DAW do you have?
Reaper.
Reaper. Gotcha. Okay. I don't know Reaper. I've heard of it. I don't know what it comes with. If it comes with any sounds or whatever. But if it doesn't come with any kind of built-in professional sounds at all, then you're going to need to start investing in stuff that is going to suit the style of music that you want to create. Okay? And I realize that it can be very overwhelming and expensive when you're starting from scratch, but that's okay. You can take an initial first step, and there are some very, very good all-around kind of libraries that kind of just cover the basics. Almost all of the main manufacturers offer something like that. I'm not going to list them off the top of my head, but I'm sure some other people in the comments can talk and mention them. But I remember back in the day, I was in a similar situation like you, and back in the day, meaning in 2001, probably one of the few or only libraries that were affordable that did what I'm talking about were the East-West things, and it's still around. It's arguable whether how well it's aged over the years, but the original East-West library is a place to start. Another thing to keep in mind for someone in your position is there are some subscription-based things. I know East-West has one, and I think some others do as well, where you can pay a monthly fee to have access to everything. Okay? So that would be a wonderful way to kind of have like a jump start on getting some professional sounding things rather than having to invest $2,000 all at once. Okay? So, second thing is the arrangement. Like, you know, when we're doing like da-da-da-da, like that kick drum and stuff. I mean, one, that was not a very good sound. Two, it was just triggered over and over and over again. It was the same sound. That's not realistic. That's not the way it would sound. When I said, remember what a round robin is, a round robin is a typical and very good sample libraries that have multiple recordings of the same note. So in the real world, when you play a note over and over, there are slight variations. I don't care if it's a drum or a violin or you name it. There are variations of it. And a good library will have, every time you hit the key, it plays a different variation. So that's one way that will sound realistic. The opposite of the round robin is this, which they'll often say causes the machine gun effect. Meaning it just sounds like da-da-da-da-da-da. It's the same thing. So you're having that problem across the board. You're having that with the piano, you're having it with the bass drum, every single sound.
Yes.
Okay, so it's even hard to judge it because the sounds themselves weren't working. However, I could imagine if that almost sounded like a general MIDI thing playing back that was meant to be assigned to good sounds, and that would go so much further. Last thing I will say on this particular piece is when you have a minute-long thing, you know, in a boss battle, there's usually multi-stages. You know, in the average game, it might have a minute or 2 minutes per stage. It loops around until you make it to the next one, right? Always maximize the variety in your music. When you have a minute, use the minute wisely. You're going, for example, da 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 da, and it does it like over at least 4 times, maybe even more than that. Don't do that. Maybe, you know, once or twice, you know, twice to get the sense of it being a thing, but then it's gotta change. It's gotta evolve. You know, I want to be ready for the loop. I don't want to be sick and tired of the repetitiveness of it before it even gets to the end. You see what I mean? So, and once again, the best advice is listen and imitate, all right? Listen to some of your favorite boss battle music. I don't care what it is. You can go back to, you know, stuff early Zelda stuff or modern things, whatever it is, but listen, imitate, listen to the composition, listen to the sounds, and learn that way. That's a great technique. All right? Cool. All right, thanks so much for the submission. All right, let's get to the next one and see what we got. All right, so next one, Dominic, do we have you here? We don't have Dominic. Okay. Greg, you're here still, right?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Good. All right. So talk to me. What set us up here? What are we going to be listening to, and what would you like me to focus on?
This is a piece of music that for a client that was like a web series. It's the lobby music that was used before the beginning of, while people are showing up. So it's kind of like a meditative, pretty repetitive kind of a sounding thing. It's and so that's pretty much it. I did it a couple months ago, like back at the beginning of autumn. So I guess that's pretty much it. If you track over to 2 minutes 50 seconds on my track, then you can listen to that minute's worth and get a sense of it.
Okay, good. And you said it was about lobby music, more or less?
It's like lobby music. It's meant to just be kind of meditative. It's not it's not moving around a whole lot. It's meditative, contemplative kind of stuff. If you want to just critique like the production of it, I think that's cool. That'd be great.
Gotcha. Okay, that's so the production in general.
Sure.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's do it. This feels more like lobby music to me right here. The other one felt more like a splash screen.
Yeah, that was kind of like the peak. I wanted you to hear the peak of it. The thing that builds up is more really just that repetitive beginning kind of just builds up, and it's the same stuff. Introduce harmonic guitars over, the second kind of just builds up. Then, so we really just heard the climactic part of this.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, so I was saying that's probably the most intense you'd ever want to make anything that was a static screen, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It felt very, very much of the level that you would hear a theme being played, as opposed to, like to kind of like, okay, now we're on the splash screen, the big title, and then as we go down into those later notes, that's when we start getting into more the quiet, and now we're focused on what we're doing on the screen, choosing our options, maybe hearing some clicks and beeps and, little interface sounds and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, that was really nice. I mean,
thanks.
I'm a sucker for dreamy, music and stuff that kind of just immerses you in there. You certainly have a good sense of, production. I like the fact that your imaging, you had things kind of echoing and coming out of different sides, and it kind of felt, I'd say, nice and cohesive. There are always opportunities to consider melodies and little motifs and things that make it memorable and hooky. Like, I'm not, on the first listen, I'm not remembering something that I can hum back to you. That doesn't mean it's bad or good. There's plenty of music that you're not supposed to hum back. But I'd say, especially when you're trying to make a demo or an impression or a pitch, it's going to work in your favor when there's something memorable about it that's hooky. Something that you can kind of imitate back. Doesn't have to necessarily be a melody. It could even be like I'm going, some pattern or something that I can kind of, hook onto and describe back to somebody. I think that's probably even a better way of talking about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for the advice there.
Sounds good. Cool. All right. So let's move on. We had someone just come in here. Was that Dominic?
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. So we can listen to your piece now. Can you describe and set up what it is we're listening to and what aspect of it you'd like me to focus on in the critique? Hello? Come in, Dominic. We might be having a little technical problem there. I'll give you 5 seconds and we'll move. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's move on. Carl, you're here. Uh-oh. Are we having some instability? Okay. Looks like internet is not cooperating today. All right. Carl, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hey. I can hear you, man.
Hi, Tom.
Yeah, talk to me about
Okay,
what we're going to be listening to and what you'd like me to focus on.
For sure. So this is part of my demo reel. It's an action-adventure cue. I was inspired a lot by Uncharted 4 in particular. I kind of went for the similar style that Henry Jackman uses in that score.
Okay.
And I'd like to know if you think it sounds like it's pretty up to industry standards and what you think in terms of mixing and writing I could go to from here.
Okay, great. And this is a 2-minute thing. Where would you like me to focus mainly?
Start at the beginning and around 1 minute.
Okay, sounds good. So we're going to focus on general, professional standards of production and stuff like that. Right? Okay, let's do it. That's disturbing. Ooh, dissonances. Whew. Woo! Okay. Wow. All right. Woo! Cool. So, yeah, I mean, the production, I think that was, production is pretty good. I mean, they're, whenever you do those fast violins, things like that, that's where you're going to start to show your samples.
Okay.
What can you do about it? Well, besides avoiding it, you can look for ways to sweeten that up. Well, one way is to hire some real player, or even a single or few players to kind of layer it up. Sometimes when I had very small budgets and I didn't have the samples to cut it, I would hire one or two string players and have them kind of record remotely and just over the top, and then I would mix that with the samples, and you get the detail from the real thing, so little things like that. Listen back, close your eyes, be honest, and say, is this going to convince me? Okay. Why is that important? Well, when we're doing music like this that's meant to sound real, anybody can use samples, right? So you're competing with things that you're competing with the best of the best, and so it should sound indistinguishable. If you want it to sound real, then it has to sound real. If you don't care if that's sounding real, it's meant to be a hybrid thing, or then that's fine too. I mean, there certainly is a place for artificial sounding things, right? But this is clearly not meant to sound artificial. This is meant to sound traditional. So that's why I would say you want to focus on that. All right, cool. So everything else, the balance, the arrangement, I think it was fine. I mean, my personal opinion is that there was a little bit too much dissonance for the average ear to handle. Okay. That's my opinion. Some people might say, you're crazy, but it almost sounded a little bit more like, I'm holding, the major minor seconds, and, some of them like, ow! You know what I mean? I love dissonance. I mean, you can listen to my music. I love things that rub, but my personal preference is that there should be some release, resolving and release, and you kind of want to ease them into it. You don't want to go too much, because otherwise it just becomes unpleasant. But again, maybe that's what you were going for. It depends. One way to make people feel unpleasant intentionally is to bring in some dissonances, and I can name a bunch of things I've done where I've made it very ooh, but it was done intentionally. I get it. Yeah, I think that was good. I was listening a lot for your dynamic range. I was listening a lot for the realism. Like, if you close your eyes, does this sound like it would it sound in a real setting? If real human beings were there, put on a really good sound stage, or would it sound like that? I think for the most part it did. So
awesome. Thanks a bunch, Tom.
Yeah, of course. Good. All right. Cool. Let's see. All right, so we got that. Let's move on to, do we have Carl? Wait, no, we just did Carl. Sorry. Dominic, are you here yet?
Dom is here, but he said his mic isn't working. He asked if you would be able to critique it anyway.
I can. Is there an area of focus for the critique?
He hasn't mentioned yet.
Okay, so I'll assume you want me to kind of judge it based on, what would make it sound as professional as possible. But if there's anything else that you want me to critique in specifically, let's say, is there enough melody? Is there too much melody? What do you think? Would this work in this context? Then just put that in the chat. All right. In the meantime, let me get it queued up here. Okay, cool.
He said overall mix.
Overall mix. Okay, so that means not really bothering with composition, just listen to the overall mix. You got it. Let's do it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, overall mix, I think it's does the job quite nicely, Dominic. Why? Well, because I could hear everything. First of all, you had a nice relative balance between the instruments. In other words, it's not always easy. In fact, it's very difficult, I think, to blend, the rock drums with the epic percussion, right? And you have both. That's really good. Then you're throwing in the guitars, and you're throwing in choir. You're throwing in quite a bit of stuff. I feel like killing some vampires. I don't know why. So all of those elements blended together. I also think that your frequencies were well balanced. I'm listening to it, and I think that the low end was well proportioned to the mids and the highs. The last thing to consider would be the context in which this is used in. So, for example, if this were to be in a killing vampires game or a Diablo-ish kind of thing, or, something like that, then the final test is to make sure how it sounds in context along with the sounds in the game itself. I have admittedly, made the mistake or haven't really successfully balanced certain tracks that are in music that sound really powerful by themselves. They're like, you want to crank it up, and yes. And then in the game, I'm like, oh, it's a muddy mess because it's all competing with what's there. I don't know if that applies in this situation, but looks like my connection is unstable again. Hopefully I don't drop out. But as a piece of music, I think the production is well. I think that the mix is well done. Anything, you clearly know, what you're doing on that stuff. Oh, that's right. I can't hear you. So hopefully that works. If there's any other comments or questions, let me know. All right. Good. All right. So we have, I think we have one more submission from Deborah. Hello, Deborah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool.
Good. So what are we listening to today?
It's a piece I wrote like 2 years ago when I was playing the original Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
When I was walking through the area of the Lost Sector, I heard Uematsu's arrangement. He had like this heavy thumping in the background while he was walking around. So I was like, okay, so I'm gonna use that as inspiration. And so I sat down and I wrote this piece. Basically for that scene in specific of him wandering around. So what I would like to be viewed is considering the style of game, which is my goal. So it doesn't need to sound like realistic is not my goal. My goal is like that style. So how is it how do I go about mixing and mastering music like that, or getting better samples for music that is what's it called, I want to say dirigido, but that's the word in Spanish.
Oh, right.
Directed, like something that's directed to that kind of style of music,
Okay.
Things like that, because I would remake the melody in some parts, but that's not the point.
Okay.
Not the point that I want to be viewed.
All right, let's give it a listen. What it's 3 minutes long, so what area would you like me to focus on? Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, what area would you like me to focus on? From the beginning or in the middle?
I think 15 seconds in.
Okay.
Until 1:15, like that will give you the general idea of the piece.
Sounds good. All right, cool.
Because I made it for it to loop, so.
Okay. Here we go. It's a little soft. One thing to keep in mind is the levels when you do mix. I can't make that louder, by the way. I'm sorry. Can anyone hear this? Okay, cool. All right, so I think I get what you're going for here. The good news is similar to an earlier comment that I made, is that I think the problems that you have with this can be addressed for free or just by buying something. One of the things is the quantization. You need to loosen that up. It just feels too but I don't think
I definitely agree.
Yeah, I don't think, I get back in the day, the video games, everything was kind of much more computery and stuff, but I think today's year, we don't need that. We don't need to go after that unless it's meant to go 8-bit sounds and stuff like this. That oboe sounds almost real, right? I could tell it's a sample because of the quality of or lack of legato or, whatever it is. Also, I could tell it's a sample by basically how computer accurate everything is. So here's one little tip for you is when you're doing this, consider that, you don't have to turn quantizing off entirely. It depends. Sometimes you should. If you can perform it and it sounds good, have that human factor in it. If you need a little help, for example, sometimes when there's something really fast, and you play it back, I'm like, God, that's a little sloppy. You don't have to go 100%. You can go 50%. You can go 80%. You can usually back up the quantizing in most modern professional DAWs. Okay, so pay attention to that. I will do that quite often. Depends, on my day or what I'm doing. Today's an 81% day. I'm just gonna leave it at 81%, and it feels tight, but it feels real. Okay. The other issue is, the samples. There's plenty of pianos. You could get some pretty decent piano sounds, I think, even for almost free these days. But everything is there's no dynamics in the piano. It feels just like a computer is playing a bunch of notes. There's no dynamic. It's too machine-like. So perform it. Use expression. Make sure that the sounds that you're using respond to expression. Respond to velocity. And make sure your controller does. I'm not hearing any velocity whatsoever in these. So that's an easy problem to fix. This instantly, if you just printed this on paper and gave this to some real people, it would sound 100 times better. Not just because of the quality of the sample, so to speak, but because just the expression, the human factor. So I think your composition is actually quite really good, but the way it was delivered isn't doing it any favors. So think about,
I get you.
You see what I'm saying? So think about
Yes.
dynamics, think about quantizing, and hey, depending on the kind of music you want to focus on, think about investing and focusing on certain kind of libraries. Let's say if you love using woodwinds, then invest in some good woodwind stuff. It's like, it's like a carpenter, buying tools. You just gotta. I need something that's good at this particular thing. Well, then buy that tool. And then over the years, over the decades, you're gonna have a huge toolbox. All right.
Yeah, I have the sample that I used was the one because I composed this not on my DAW, but I composed it on Finale.
Uh-huh.
And I kept that sample because it was the only thing, I don't want to say crappy, but I want to say like, stylistic, I guess, to how music was in that day. That
Yeah.
wasn't, you know, Sims all computerized, but I do have East West, I think it's called samples, so I have some pretty decent ones.
Okay.
But that's the reason I didn't have decentish samples. I just left it because I don't know if good, I don't want to say crappy, but stylistic
Yeah.
samples that I could use as a replica. I don't know if that makes sense.
I know what you mean. But I think you could take it a little further. I would try seeing how more human and real you can bring into this type of music. I honestly think that the reason why the music sounded the way it did in those days is because of the technical limitations. Now, great. Sometimes it's nice and nostalgic to bring it back, but sometimes it's really not. You know, sometimes it's like, let me modernize it. Let me reinterpret the way that was had it been done today. You know, let's evolve. Let's not get stuck in the past in every situation, you know, like musically. All right?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Well, that worked out perfectly timing-wise. That was our last submission for today. Thank you very much. I think this was a lot of fun. Did you all have fun today with the critiques? Was this a good thing? All right, good. Yeah, maybe we'll do this a little bit more often. I think that'll be kind of fun. So I think just a couple of quick announcements. The next one we're going to do is going to be January, what is it? I put it on my calendar already. Let me see here. It's going to be the next, January 19th. So we're going to do this again. And if you're watching out there in YouTube land, if you'd like to be part of this, feel free to sign up for any of my classes, and you will be part of the list where you can kind of come on live via Zoom, and we can have live conversations about all kinds of stuff. All right. Let's see. What other announcements? Chris, do we have any other announcements for today?
Not for today that I can think of.
Okay.
Except for have a great Christmas.
Yeah, great. Yes. Happy, have a wonderful Christmas holidays and New Year's, and stay healthy and safe and happy. Let's be glad we're still making music. All right. All right. So everyone, thanks so much for watching, and please join me next time. All right. I'll see you all around. Thanks so much.
Thanks a bunch.